Okay, so since I had a few of you asking, I figured I'd just take a video and show you all kind of how I've got this set up and then just how to, and this is pretty much all stock stuff except for, of course, aftermarket upgrades, but I mean, all the diffs and links and all that stuff's just utilizing all stock stuff. So I'll kind of go over that first, and then after that, I'll just kind of show you some other rigs I have laying around how to put two of them together. So with this, all I've done, as you can see, it's just a stock frame. It runs and then just screws onto the outside of the model kit. And the model kit, luckily enough on this one, this is a Kenworth, I think it was like Lightning Express. The frame came all together, assembled with this top piece, decently sturdy. I mean, you can see it's got some play to it, but I was able to utilize the frame pretty much from the model kit to build this. So that worked out pretty well. But the main thing you just got to do, or keep in mind, is making the frame long enough to support mainly your shocks. And then I just utilize the stock engine mount and then utilize the 4-link from that. And the rear on this, though, however, because I do have the rear steer and how to get around the steering arms, I just bent a little piece of aluminum, screwed it into the bottom of the diff cover, and ran my links to that. And it seems to be working rather well. So that's an idea, I guess. I just kind of brainstorm with things and put things together and see what works, see what doesn't. So in this one, I have two different motor plates. That one is just a carrier bearing pretty much to get the drive shaft back there. And then on this one, I do have a pass-through axle. So it's the worm gear has two sides to attach a drive shaft to. I believe Mofo RC, you can buy them off there. This one, however, I just cut an old one, cut the end off an old one and welded it to the other side of that one, ground it down so the bearing fit, and drilled a hole in the diff cover. And that's pretty much all you need to do to make your own pass-through axle anyway. Everybody asks, the dualies are just glued together. However, I'm waiting. I've got the Mofo RC dualies coming, so I'm excited for those. But yeah, that's pretty much how this is set up. I've just got, I believe this is the Jeep front links running here. I think those are deadbolt lower front links, and then Jeep lower front links on this one, and then it's deadbolt lower in front. And then for drive shafts, just trim down what I need. Of course, that's just a deadbolt drive shaft. I think that's a deadbolt rear drive shaft. I don't think I had to trim that one. I was able to place everything pretty much where I needed it to be to get the wheelbase where I wanted it. But for doing just a stock rig, not having the model kit, so we've got the Jeep. It's pretty much all stock. So let's, I don't have a way to show you on this frame here. So basically, to run with just two, you need two frames, two motors, to run without a pass-through axle. So you need two frames, two motors. Really all you need is to take the front or the rear and then move it. So you'd cut that much off, or however long you want to make yours, I guess. But cut as much off as you need, move it back, and I just use the bottom motor mount as the anchor to hold them together. These two screws or two holes line up pretty well with the one tab and the one hole that come off the mount. So they go in there, and then the other side do the same for the other side. You may have to re-drill this hole for your links, depending on where you have that. Or you can just, I mean, this is pretty easy to drill into itself. If you need to move this forward or backwards, you can just drill into the plastic there and re-screw it. Yeah, I'm not sure where my drill bits and everything are. I'd show you exactly what size it is. But yeah, and then you just screw the rest of the existing frame onto the back of there, run your links down, and you're just going to have to experiment with what links to use on how far you want. Just remember, it's probably not going to be your regular geometry of just using the rear links from the Jeep or the Deadbolt or the C10, because you are now up higher. So this link, your upper link, is now going to have to be longer to make the rear differential sit straight up and down, or else it's going to be all tilted weird and your drive shaft's going to go weird. Well, your drive shaft's going to go weird anyway because it's going from clear up here. But so it might help to actually have that tilted. Again, you're just going to have to play with that kind of thing. I have built one this way and it worked rather well. I just don't exactly, that was one of my first 6x6 builds, so that was a little while ago. But from here, once you have your frame extended and your links where you like them, whatever, you just run another engine or run another motor back here, and then wire the two motors together into your one ESC. I have been seeing, though, that you can bind two ESCs to the same controller. So it might be, and I just wired mine together. It worked just fine. But if you wanted to, you could put two ESCs in here, and one ESC controls one, the other ESC controls the other motor. But the rear motor is literally just going to control your rear. Or I have also seen people I ran mine just like this, to where the rear only had the links for the rear end and drove the rear end. I've seen people to where they have the front, just run the front, and then they have the links coming this way and going that way off the rear, and the motor running the two rear. That way would actually probably be better, because it would sit lower, it'd sit better, and your drive shaft would actually be more in line, to whereas this one's going down, and now this one's got to peak down, but this suspension's up higher. You see what I'm saying? So it'd be able to sit lower. Your frame's going to sit more like this, but the wheels will actually, the suspension would probably sit better if you had both of them going this way. And then the other problem with that is I wanted mine to be somewhat close together. When you run them both off here, the deadbolt link, the deadbolt front end, is pretty much the shortest you're going to be able to get. So your wheels, if you think from there to there, if you double that, oh man, I'm not in the camera. So hopefully a lot of that's been in the camera. If you go from there to there and double that, you're going to have that much gap approximately between. So you're probably going to be there. You're probably going to have that much gap or so between your wheels and tires for your rear end. Whereas I like to be a little bit tighter than that. So running off this one, going down and then coming here, you're able to move this, farther back here, even to where the motor is right behind it, and then run your links down, and then that'll put your rear axle closer. But again, it's going to put more of an angle on that rear drive shaft. The best way ultimately is running the pass-through axle. But yeah, so that's basically how you'd run it. Is you'd have a motor down here, your motor up here. That motor up here would drive just the rear axle, or the rear and the front. But if it does the rear and the front, they're going to be farther apart. You're not going to be able to get your axles as close together if you want that. But yeah, there's tons of ways. I've seen people actually do full, to where they mount the two frames together and do 6x6s that way, to where then you've just got the front running just the front, and then these two pretty much just how it is, running both those. So you can do it that way. You can, play around with plugging them together. I've had up to, when I initially was starting this build, I've had 3 servos and 2 motors all wired together on one ESC, and it all worked. I don't know how much of a strain it was putting on things. I didn't run it very long that way. I was testing things out for this initial build, and but I did have it all like that, and it did work. So you can run this stuff off. If you want to run rear, steer, all that, you can run all that with just servo wise. I could make this work with the factory electronics other than the brushless, but with a brush motor I can make this work with the factory electronics. So just experiment with what you can do with them. But yeah, that's basically the gist of making your own 6x6, is just extending the frame, finding a place to mount the secondary motor if you're going to run a secondary motor, if you're not going to do a pass-through axle. And then these are the easiest ways. You can also, I've also ran it flipped to where you can have the motor sitting down lower. You just have all sorts of clearance issues with pretty much everything, because now your links are above the motor trying to run down. The only thing that does is really, and it really doesn't do much, but it does a little bit for bringing the drive shaft, where the drive shaft comes out, down a little bit farther, but it doesn't help enough to recommend it. The other thing it does is looks a little cooler because the motor is not out of the way. And I mean, there is like, what do I do with all that? No, all that stuff's out in the car too. But yeah, if you go to Hobby Town, Hobby Lobby, they're gonna have like brass and aluminum piping, sheeting, all that kind of stuff. You can cut that down, and like, so you could literally get a little piece of that brass sheeting, cut that down, and make you some down hangers to run you your A-arms to or your 4-link to, go up to run your suspension to, and all that is drilling holes and screwing into it. As you can see, a real good thing is just your old servo horns. Use those as nuts all the time, especially with these frames. They fit in there pretty nice, so you can just kind of hold it there and it doesn't spin too easy on you. Yeah, so that's basically it, I guess. Any other questions, just let me know.